Hey guys, welcome back for another video. So today I am actually on my way to buy a snow plow, or at least I'm gonna go look at one and I'm planning to buy it. It is it's a lightweight snow plow that is actually made for mounting to just a 2-inch receiver hitch on a vehicle, either front or rear. And if this works out the way I'm planning, I think this will work on my, I know it'll work on my truck, and I think I'm gonna be able to set it up so it'll work on my compact tractor as well. So I'm gonna go take a look at this thing. If it's in good condition, I'm gonna buy it, and then I'll show you what I have in store for this plow. All right guys, so I did go ahead and buy this plow, got it home, and I thought I'd just show you kind of what this thing's all about. So this particular plow is the Snowsport HD utility plow. From what I can tell, this thing's also sold under the DR brand, and I think the DR is called the Ready plow, but it's the same thing, I think. So basically it's just it's 7 feet, it's an aluminum plow, it's really light. I don't know how much this thing weighs, but I don't know, it's maybe 75 pounds or something. It's not very heavy. And the basic concept of this thing is just that there's no hydraulics or anything like that. It just rides. I'll mock it up here in a second so you can see it, but basically, so here's your mounting frame, and this just goes into a hitch. And I think the ideal way to do this is you actually put a front hitch on your vehicle, or you have one already. And then you push, obviously, and then when you roll backwards, there's kind of these heels back here, and so when you go backwards, it just tips up, and then you can drag backwards. The cutting edge comes off the ground, and then go forward again, and it basically just re-engages. And this is a big, thick. I'll show you here. So this cutting edge is, I don't know, it's probably like, it's probably close to 1 inch thick, I suppose. So, this is obviously a light duty model here. This isn't a very heavy duty setup, but it's just for what I need. So the reason I wanted this thing is I've got another property right now that's about driving good road conditions. It's 30 to 35 minutes away from my house, and figure in the winter. Let me back up a second. So I have a tractor that I use on my yard here to actually push snow. But in order to load up the tractor and the trailer, haul it to this other place, and I'm constantly buying and selling houses too. So loading up the tractor and moving it all the time to push snow is sometimes it's a pain and takes a lot of time. So my thinking is I'm just going to take this lightweight plow, I'm going to mount it to the frame, and I'm just going to stick it in the rear hitch of my truck. And for the few times that I'll use it, I'm just gonna put in the rear receiver hitch, and I'm gonna back up. I'm not gonna mess around with putting a front hitch on the truck or any of that stuff. So I think it's gonna work fine. I've got a backup camera so I can kind of see what I'm doing, and I can zip over to this other place at 60 miles an hour, do a real quick backup push, and then be back home. And then the other thing, this is kind of an afterthought, but the other thing that I think is going to work really well is I'm going to actually mount this on my tractor too. So I've got a set of pallet forks. It's a pallet fork frame basically, and but as you can see, it's got a hitch mount on it. So my thinking is for all of our light snows that we have, which here in central Iowa, we get a lot more of those little 2 to 4 inch snows, a lot more of those than we get real heavy snow. So I think this plow may work really well on my tractor for just kind of doing a quick clear. Sometimes with my other hydraulic plow that I built for my tractor, it's only like 6 feet wide, and it takes, I don't know, it takes some time. And I think with these mold boards on the side, this almost acts a little bit like a mini snow pusher, so I'll be able to grab the snow and go up the driveway. So anyway, that's the plan. So first thing I've got to do here, this thing is set up. It looks like there's an adjustment here on this frame, and this is set up for something with a really low hitch. and it's too low for my truck. So I'm going to slide. I need to take these bolts loose and then I need to slide this frame down on the hitch assembly here to the bottom, get as low as I can. Still thinking I may have to weld up an adapter because I still think my hitch might be too tall to use this thing. But I'm gonna take in all the adjustment I can, drop it down, see how we're sitting on the truck, and then I'll figure out if I need to build a hitch adapter for it. All right, so I got that bracket slid up or down, or whichever way you want to say, but basically I've got the receiver hitch as high as I can get it on the push frame. So right now, I'll show you, I've got about 13.5 inches to the bottom of that hitch. And my truck, I just measured, the bottom of the receiver tube is 17.5 inches. So right now, at a bare minimum, I need to get, I need to have an adapter that's going to drop my hitch down a minimum of 4 inches. And that only gives me about an inch of play there. So I think it's going to need to be a little bit more than 4 inches. And not only that, but the way this thing sets up right now, when you have it kind of maxed out, you can see that the push frame is up here in kind of on the upper section of the plow. And I think I'd like to have it so that these push bars are mostly covering this plate. So I get the most strength pushing forward there and less chance of, I don't know, breaking or bending something. So I got to come at least 4 inches over here, and then I think I'd like to come down a few more inches to get this push pipe down so it's on that plate. So I think I'm going to have to build an adapter that's going to bring me down on my truck hitch probably 7 or 8 inches. It's going to have to drop down quite a ways. So I'm going to see what I've got here for material, see if I've got some stuff laying around the shop that I can make this work. Okay, so I pulled some measurements. I got this thing lowered down more where I think it's going to make more sense, with this frame pushing straight into the plow. And so that dropped that down a little bit. So basically what I've decided is I need to make up between where this hitch is leveled out here and where my truck is at. I need to make up about 4 inches to get up to the height of my truck hitch. So this is my general idea here. I've got some 2-inch steel tubing. So I'm going to cut this, and this is what will actually go into the receiver hitch of my truck. I'll cut it off about here. And then I'm going to weld some braces in, some 4-inch braces from that tubing. And then I've got a piece of, this is actually receiver hitch tubing that I had cut off. I used for another project and had laying around. So I'm going to cut this to probably about 6 inches or so, and then I'll have to drill a hole in here, and then imagine this is the snow plow. Will come in and will slide into that hitch. So we got, this will be in the truck, and then this will be the snow plow out here. So this is what I'm going to use, and I think I've got this brand new steel tubing, but rather than use all this stuff up, it's kind of expensive, I've got all these hitches. I've got, these are all, let's see, 1, 2, I've got 3 right here. I've got 3, I think these are 2¼ inch drop hitches. I have at least one more of these. This is like a 5.5 or something like that. And I've got, this one's like a 1. I've got receiver hitches all over the place. I find them when I find them in properties all the time. Seems like they get left behind in garages, and for whatever reason I collect them. So rather than using up this nice steel, I'm just going to cut these things up and use these because I never use them, and I just trip over them in my shop. So I might as well use up the steel and go that route. Okay, so I got all my pieces cut, and I just went ahead and sacrificed a bunch of those hitches. And I know some of you are going to probably think I'm crazy, but literally I've got these things all over the place. And all I ever use is an adjustable hitch on my truck, so I never use those things. I haven't used them in years, so I decided to do that. And so originally my plan was that I was going to build it basically like that. But because I chopped this off a hitch, this isn't quite long enough to give me the spacing I need to be able to weld two pieces on there. So I think instead of that, I'm just going to lay them on end, lay them horizontally, and I'll just weld it that way. It'll make it easy to weld. It'll be probably actually stronger that way. It's going to be a big old hunk of metal there hanging down, but for the purposes that I need, I think that's going to work just fine. So I'm going to work on getting this stuff kind of cleaned up a little bit, get it ground down so it's ready for welding, and then I'll go ahead and get everything all tacked together. Well, there you go. No question, that is a big, ugly hunk of steel. Not the prettiest thing ever, but I think I got good welds there, so it's going to be strong. I'll get it cleaned up and I'll throw a coat of paint on it, and that'll probably help a lot, but let's see if this thing fits. All right, so there's the transport position, which should work good. Then when it's time to plow, you just come up. And you're plowing. I think that's going to work good. And I've got these pins that go in there like that, so it can't bounce off when you're going down the road. All right, I think we got a winner. So next step is to throw this thing on the tractor and see how it's going to work on there. I'm confident that I've got a good solution here. Looking forward to a little bit of snow and giving this thing a try. So we'll throw it on the tractor too and see how it's going to set up on there. Well, I think that's going to be a pretty slick setup on a tractor. It's going to work good on the truck, you know, for what I need it for kind of quick cleanups. But I think this thing's going to work really well. I really like the fact that it's got, you know, these sideboards on here, so those probably stick out. Oh, I don't know, those probably stick out 6-7 inches. So that'll help catch a little snow. This side over here is a little wonky. I have a feeling that they probably stored this sitting on end, leaning on this tip over here. So I may see if I can maybe heat that up and put some tension on it with a clamp or something and see if I can get that to go back out. But anyway, I think for big snows, my other hydraulic plow that has a hydraulic tilt on it. Might work a little bit better, but I think for a lot of the snows that we have around here, this is going to work well. So I don't know if I showed you this before, but you can pull this pin and then the whole thing pivots too. I think it's got, probably got forward and then yeah, it just has three positions basically: forward, left, or right. So I don't know if I envision I'll probably use it straight on more often than side to side, but that's gonna work well. I'm kind of anxious to give that thing a first push and see what kind of results I get. So there you go. Again, it's the Snowsport. DR has the same plow, and there's some other options too that I'm trying to think. There's some kind of light duty homeowner style plows. There might be some other things like this too that have basically no moving parts, no mechanical parts, but I know there's one, I think it's called Home Plow or something along those lines, that does have a hydraulic swivel in the front. I think it still hooks up to a 2-inch receiver hitch on the front. So if if that's what you're looking for a little bit more, convenience, I guess, or usability to be able to move from left to right, then something like that would work good. But I think if I was going to go something that actually has hydraulics on it, then I would just invest in a regular, heavy duty plow. Because again, I think with these, these hitch mounts coming off the 2-inch receiver hitch, I have a feeling as long as you're smart and you don't, go slamming into huge snowbanks, ice piles and stuff like that, I think this is probably gonna hold up just fine. But my guess is you could probably damage it pretty easy too if you don't take it easy. So there you go. I'll just show you too, for my adapter that I built for my truck. I threw a coat of paint on there so it looks a little bit better, but not that matters too much, but that's ready to go. And in hindsight, as I was kind of playing with the adjustments on this is going to work great, but I'm pretty sure I could have gotten away with just a 2-inch spacer, lowering that down 2 inches. I don't think that would have been any problem at all. It would have had this push plate, the way I have it set up now when it's in the back of my truck. This push bar is really centered in the plow. It would have been 2 inches higher, but I don't think that would have been any problem at all. It would have worked just fine, but whatever. It is what it is, and it's going to work good. So I will never say that I'm looking forward to snow, because I'm not, but I do like to be prepared. So I think with this new plow in the arsenal, we'll see how it goes. We're probably, you never know here. I mean, heck, it could snow next week, but typically we're probably, a few weeks to a month away from really getting snow. So it'll be a little while. I'll set this thing aside. When we do get snow, I will make sure to do a follow-up video, and I'll test it on the back of my truck. Like I said, I've got another property with not a super long driveway, fairly long driveway, probably 150 feet maybe, something like that, maybe a little shorter, but it's real wide. There's an outbuilding there that I'm gonna need to clear, a pretty wide parking area, so that remains accessible. So I think that's where this thing's gonna work really well. Just back up with my truck, and then we'll give it a run here at home on the driveway and see how it turns out. So if you guys are interested in seeing that, make sure you subscribe to my channel, and we'll see you on the next one.